Hello everybody, in this episode I want to show you how I created this image on the screen here, including some video of me in the field and then talking through my Photoshop processing afterwards. So let's get to it. Hello, welcome to my first little vlog. It's Ian Cox here from Ian Cox Photography and Landscape Photography Processing. Today, or tonight, I'm at Ribblehead Viaduct, and because I haven't got any posh vlogging gear, I'm just doing this on my mobile phone in selfie mode. I just thought I'd talk you through what my plan is for this evening. I've just missed sunset, but I mean, as you see, it's it's beautiful old Victorian viaduct. Some lovely colour stuff in the sky, but I'm here for a slightly different reason. I want to do a night shot of a train going across the viaduct. There's one due in about 45 minutes, so I'm going to climb up to the side of the hill, see if I can find myself a nice little composition. It's about 1 degree out, so pretty cold, getting a bit red, and fingers are going a bit numb, but fingers crossed get my composition, and I'll be back with you then to talk you through what I'm going to do. Right, welcome back. I've got pretty much my shot set up. Just give you a background of where I am. So I've come up on the side of the hill above the viaduct. Got Ingleborough Mountain up there in the background. Lovely Yorkshire Dales scenery. So what I've done, I found a spot. It's all very kind of moggy and soft and horrible. So I've pushed my tripod into the ground as far as it will go. In terms of settings, I mean, it's still fairly light outside. I mean, the sun went down about half an hour ago, but we've still got quite a bit of blue owl light. So I've actually put a 5-stop filter on the end of my camera. There's my trusty Sony mirrorless. Just using standard kit lens on this. At the moment, I'm at with the 5-stop ND. I'm at 20 seconds at f11. But I think, like I said, the train's due in about probably 15-20 minutes. So the light's going to carry on dropping. So this is going to be real guesswork on getting this right. It's going to take about a minute for the train to go all the way across the viaduct. I've done this kind of shot before at this location from down there. I've never done it from up here. So I know it's going to be about a minute, so I'm just trying to figure out what my exposure time is going to be. I think I'll just have to play it by ear when the train arrives, just start fiddling about with ISOs and things like that, and hopefully I'll get it right. What I plan to do is take 3 shots. I'm going to take one for the foreground, while I've still got this sort of more ambient light going on, to make sure I get some detail in the bridge and all this sort of foliage in the foreground. Then I'm going to take a shot of the train going across the bridge to get a nice long red light trail. The train's going to be going away from us. And after that, I probably might wait around for 10, 15, 20 minutes and see if I can get some more sort of night sky looking shots for the sky. But yeah, so fingers crossed it all works out. I'll probably start this again once the train starts going on, see what happens. Right, back again. So about 5 minutes till the train's due, and you can still see there's a lot of ambient light still going on. It's actually a lot darker than it looks on the video, because my phone's compensating for that. So settings wise, I'm in bold mode now, so full manual. I'm at f11, ISO 100, and I'm just going to go for it when the train comes along. I'm just going to keep the shutter open for about a minute and a half. I've just done a test shot of a minute exposure, and it's come out fairly quite well underexposed with the 5-stop on the end. So I'm hoping with sort of a minute and a half in about 5 minutes time, the light of the train should come through very nicely. It'll make it easier to blend as well if I've just got a streak of light with minimal stuff in the picture apart from that. And I'll do my other exposures straight afterwards after the trains come, so wish me luck. Right, change of plans. It's probably about a minute till the train arrives, if it's on time. I've actually dropped my shutter speed down to 30 seconds now. I'm a bit worried about having such a long shutter speed of a sort of minute and a half, 2 minutes with this filter on, that this light trail might not be bright enough. So what I've gone for, I'm going to put it on 30 seconds, I've got my aperture down to 5.6, and what I've done is put my camera on continuous shooting. So got an infrared remote. I'm going to press the shutter. It should take 5 consecutive images, so that'll be 2.5 minutes, 30 seconds each, and they should be seamless. So I should be able to blend them all into one light trail in post. So again, wish me luck. This is all really trial and error, this type of photography. So yeah, hopefully I get it right. Otherwise, I'll have to come back. Right, the train's here. My camera is just about to start shooting. Please hurry up, hurry up. I'm going to get the foot. There it goes. Right, so that first exposure, see what happens. See, there goes the train, look. So let's see what I get with this first exposure. What I mean. It's a long 30 seconds when you're waiting for something. That's gone quicker than I expected, actually. We didn't need to do quite so long a shutter speed. Ah, damn it. Missed it. Shouldn't have put that ND filter on. Ah! Anyway, I'll see what happens when I get it into post. It's still going, so it's going to be shooting for the next 2 minutes. But just I think that 5-stop ND on the front's just completely killed the light trails. The train wasn't bright enough. So I'll put this down to a fail, but like I said, I'll get it into post, see what happens. I might do an episode on how to recover images like this. I'm at ISO 100, so I should have plenty of detail to play with in the shadows. Might be able to recover some of that light trail. But anyway, over and out from me for the time being. Right, I'm going back out. I've gone back to my car. I've had an hour sit down. There's another train due in about 20 minutes, so I'm going back out, see if we can do this. It's now, as you can see, completely pitch black. I wanted to get some sort of night sky stuff right just over my left shoulder. You won't be able to see it, it's all in this video. But the clouds have come over, so I'm just going to go out. I'm just going to see what I can get. You know, got to be in it to win it. So I'll go up and set my shot up again, see what I can get. This has got to be one of the spookiest places in the world at night. No moon tonight, so completely pitch black. But I know this place like the back of my hand, so I'll find my way. There's another train going over the bridge. This time it's night time. Have we got it? Have we got it? Yes, look at that, nice big light trail. We've also got one on the road as well. And Orion up there as well. Try and angle this a bit better. There we go. Brilliant, so I'll take, that's just doing the 5 consecutive exposures. Weird light in the sky there, I don't know what it is. Showing up nicely on my raw file there. Oh, it's a plane contrail, that's what it is. It's me thinking I was in UFO country or something like that. Anyway, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to take probably another couple of exposures for the foreground. Maybe do a bit of light painting, just put it on a sort of really long 10-minute exposure or something, so if I can really light up the foreground. But I've got what I came for, which is fantastic news. So result, worth waiting around for. I'll see you in Photoshop. Right, so welcome back. Here we are back in Photoshop. What I want to do now is just talk to you about how I put together the final image that you see on the screen here. Before I do that, I'll show you an image that I got as one of my sort of practice exposures that actually turned out quite nicely, actually. So doing a bit of processing, some lovely kind of post-sunset pastel colours that went on there. Went for a more panoramic crop on this one. I mean, most of the foreground was just this kind of grassy area anyway. It wasn't really adding anything to the image, so I cropped that up.
Made it a bit more panoramic, which I thought fitted with the mountain and the viaduct a little bit better. But yeah, so nice kind of image that came out of something unintentional. Anyway, so let's move on to the light trails image. So here we've got my base exposure. So this is about a 4-minute exposure. I think it was about ISO 800, something like that. I limited myself to 4 minutes really because it was getting really cold. You know, I was standing there waiting for my exposure. I did 2 or 3 4-minute exposures, trying to get exposing for this kind of foreground area. I was light painting with a torch to try and put some light on the viaduct, which is why this foreground actually came out sort of fairly bright. If I had the time and it wasn't so cold, I probably would have stayed there and done some really long exposures. You know, we're talking kind of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that, and seeing what I got. But my fingers were literally going numb, and I thought, I was a little bit tired of getting so cold. So I kind of had to work with what I got here. But anyway, what I want to do is I'm just going to talk you through all my layers, how I constructed the image, all the adjustments that I've made. I was going to make a full video on how I process the image stage by stage, but it was such a long process. It was probably going to be about 1.5 2 hour long video, so I thought I'd sort of skip you that. And you know, most people haven't got the patience to watch that. So let's just go through the layers one by one and just talk you through what I did. So base image at the bottom. This is pretty much straight out of camera. As you can see, I've got some trailing in the stars up here, because it was a 4-minute exposure, but all I was worried about was mainly the foreground. Like I said, I was using a torch to paint some light on the viaduct here. So my next exposure I did for the sky, because we had lovely Orion up here, some nice stars out. I actually quite like the effect of these clouds coming over. I think this was about a 20-second exposure. I think maybe ISO 800, ISO 1600, something like that. But anyway, I blended that with a layer mask, as you can see here. Used the luminosity mask to get these edges really nice. However, you can see it just looks quite unnatural. You know, the sky is quite dark. The mountain and the viaduct just look unnaturally a little bit too bright here. So I need to do some work on the sky exposure to brighten that up, but retain the contrast. So that's exactly what I did. First thing I did was brighten up the sky. Obviously, that's looking too bright in these clouds, and I think the actual stars are just looking a bit too bright. But the blend with the horizon, everything is looking a lot better there. So the next thing I did, I brought back some of the darkness, darkened the clouds a little bit, brought back in some of the contrast that I lost, and then what I wanted to do was just enhance the stars at the top here. So I just put a little levels there to get a bit more contrast in the sky there. Next thing is to bring in my light trails. So I've got a separate folder up here. So if I turn on trail 1, there we go. There's the light trail of the train going across the bridge. Turned out really well. As I mentioned in the video, I took I think 5 separate exposures, but only needed 3. So basically, the train comes over the viaduct, and there's the station is down here. This is where all these lights. There's a pub and a station and things like that there. So when it got to there, it disappeared anyway. So I only needed the 3 because my camera's on this kind of continuous, continual 5-shot mode. It was seamless transition. So if I turn on the next one, there it is, and the next one, you see a little bit more appear there. I've also got the light trail of this is the main road here. I've got a car driving by, which I quite like as well. With regards to how I blended these, simply just use light and blend mode, and I had to just mask that in, mask out the sky, otherwise the stars would have been doing some very strange things. So anyway, that's how I blended the main exposure. I then did some healing, got rid of there's a lot of kind of hot pixels and things like that I needed to clean up. A lot of kind of noise and that I just wanted to get rid of. So I did that with a simple healing layer. I then did my fringing with a darken layer. Also took care of some of the stars a little bit elongated because of the lens in the corners. I'm not sure what I did with lighten, but I think it's probably to do with the fringing around the mountain there. And then I just did a color correction down in the bottom left here. You see I've got a sort of big blue lens flare down there. I just took care of that with a color colour layer and just painted in the colour there. The next stage is I went into Camera Raw to do all my basic adjustments. Camera Raw, as you're probably aware, runs off the same engine as Lightroom, so it's essentially like bringing the image into Lightroom to do all my major adjustments. So I sorted out the white balance, I did all sorts of, you can just open up Camera. I've got this as a smart object, so I'm actually go back into Camera Raw and look at my adjustments. So I really dropped the highlights down, really trying to get everything I could out of the shadow areas, did my white point, black point, brought down the clarity a bit, because it was quite a sort of grainy, noisy image, and night images I think work best when you bring down the clarity a little bit. I think I used a grad filter on the sky to bring back some clarity, increase the vibrance. I don't think I did much else. Did some noise reduction, color noise reduction all the way to the top, just to try and get rid of any hot pixels I may have missed in the healing stage. Got my sharpening up there a little bit as well. A little bit of HSL. There was a lot of cyans in the shadows, so I kind of pumped them towards the blues, down the saturation of the blues as well. I don't think I did anything with the luminance, and then I did a little bit of a split toning, so a bit of kind of orangey red in the highlights and some blues in the shadows, and I think that's about it for what I did there. Yeah, so I just cancel that. Right, so my next stage of my workflow, I take care of contrast. So in this image, I really wanted to get everything I could out of these shadows, really balance the image the best I can. So I've got a lot of layers here in my contrast adjustments. First thing I did was put a kind of a structure, I call it, layer here. So if you look mainly on the viaduct, I masked it in. Just used a high pass filter for that to bring out some detail in the brickwork of the viaduct. I was also getting some nasty highlights in here as a result of that, so I just took care of them with I think it was a levels layer. Just brought the white point right down there. First stage, brightening the foreground, just a simple curves. Added some more brightness and some more contrast in that foreground. Like I said, it was trying to get as much data as I possibly could milk out of this file. That's why there's so many adjustment layers. I thought the light trails needed brightening up a little bit, and they're pretty prominent anyway, but I just wanted to have that little bit of a bit more pop, so I just put in a simple brightness adjustment. We had some flaring and haloing down here, so I took care of that with just burnt that with a curves layer. Added some contrast back into the viaduct. I thought there was, where I've been painting it with a torch, it's just getting a little bit washed out along here, so I just brought some contrast back there. Next stage, right, you see I've named all my layers just so I could talk you through this. There was kind of this dark haloing on the horizon. I wasn't sure what that came from, so decided to brighten that up a little bit so it matched the rest of the sky. Thought that the light pollution hitting the clouds, sort of some quite hazy clouds above the more darker clouds underneath, but I thought the light pollution and things like that were hitting it, making it a bit too bright, so I just brought down that light pollution there, and then I brought down the general brightness of the clouds. I didn't want to get rid of it completely because then it just starts looking really unnatural, but I just thought it was just a bit distracting for the eye, so I just brought that down so it's a little bit less contrasty in this area here. Decided to brighten up the whole image just a little bit, and I thought that this foreground area was getting a bit too distracting. Like I said, I was painting with a torch, and most of the torchlight was hitting this sort of wall and this grassy knoll here, so I decided I'm going to darken that right down. Star enhance, I decided to, didn't want to zoom. Star enhance, I wanted to just bring out the Orion, and I think that's Sirius just above the clouds there, so I just did that with a simple just little brightness of the stars there, and that's just extracting the brighter stars from the image and putting it in screen mode with a slight blur on it. I'll probably talk through that in a future video. I then decided I wanted to try and get more information out of the shadows. Instead of using curves, I went back into Camera Raw actually, and just really pumped up the exposure and the shadows for that foreground area and just masked it in. I then did some frequency separation. If you could see, I've got I had some sort of quite nasty, my computer's running a bit slow here, but apologies for that. So these lens flares around these lights on the horizon. So I decided get rid of them using frequency separation, which I've explained in a previous video. And then I decided I thought that the clouds needed more contrast. Even though I've darkened this kind of brighter areas down, I thought, well, these clouds are now looking a bit washed out. So I decided to put some contrast back in the clouds, and then a little bit more contrast back in the viaduct, especially in the distance here. So those are all my contrast adjustments. So like I said, it's a lot of small adjustments, some bigger adjustments, but yeah, a lot of layers going on there. Next up was my color adjustments. So I thought that the actual colors of the original raw file worked sort of fairly well. I think I overdid it a little bit in camera raw, so I just brought back some of those colors, especially in the sky. It was looking far too blue, so I just did a copy of the base merge layer, put it in color blending mode, and masked it in. Did a color lookup, wanted to just put a bit of color to sort of bluish color toning, color balance layer, just tweaking those colors just a little bit more. Wanted to add a bit of vibrance there, but then once I added sort of more vibrant saturation, all these cyan hues started coming in. I don't really like these kind of cyan areas in the shadows, so I decided hue saturation adjustment layer, let's get rid of them, bring them back more towards the kind of more blue magenta type range there. These greens are also getting far too saturated in the foreground for my liking, so they had to come down a lot. I think I moved the hue along as well. Then I did just touch more vibrance once I'd done the color corrections. Hue saturation here, it's not labeled, so I don't know what it does until I click on it. Not a great deal. There would be some method. It's masked in down here, so I think it was just sorting out the hue of this area here. And then I decided I wanted to add just a little bit more orange in these clouds to represent where I brought down the light pollution. So just put I think a solid color in soft light mode, just to bring back a little bit more orange in those clouds. And then from there on, it was pretty plain sailing back to the finished image. So did some sharpening. I did just use a high pass filter there. Added a vignette. I just wanted to darken down sort of these areas here. Didn't want to vignette too much in the sky because we get the natural vignette from the lens there. But certainly I decided to brighten up this area here with the viaducts, or basically where you want the eye to focus, and then darken down these edges here. So turn on and off my vignette. There you go. I just wanted to center the eye more in the center of the image there. And then the final stage, I just added a layer of noise. I've got my pattern fill noise. I'll probably show that in a different video. But I was getting some nasty banding issues, mainly down in here. I tried to get rid of with just a layer of noise. So there you go. I mean, if you just go turn all my groups off and talk through them as I turn them back on. So there's my base merged image. Then I did all my healing and cloning. Got rid of that sort of nasty contrail in the sky there as well. Into camera raw, kind of overdid it a little bit, but there's my contrast. That's where most of the major adjustments were happening there, bringing back all those details in those shadows. Then did my color toning, then my sharpening, then my vignetting, and then my noise. And there we go. I think that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. A little bit of a different one for me, actually, getting some video in the field. I think at some point I'll probably invest in a proper camera and a proper microphone, so it's not just my mobile and selfie mode. So apologies for all the wind noises and the lack of quality, but please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Please do like the video. Any comments are welcome, and I'll see you again very soon in another episode.